Please welcome to the stage Austen Alexander, creator, Battle Bunker YouTube, and your moderator, Karina Barao, Director for Strategic Engagements, SCSP.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Saturday of the AI Plus Expo. I'm so delighted that you came to join us today. We've had an amazing 3 days of the expo so far. This is the last day, and so we're super grateful for all of you coming and joining us at this very early hour on a Saturday to talk about something that's super, super important. So we're going to jump right into it. So we're joined here today by Austen Alexander, and we're going to talk about something that we actually came up with on the fly on Thursday, which is how to make a pivot in your career. And we thought, who better to speak to on this than Austen, who did that just a few years ago in his life. And we're going to basically learn from him today. We really want this to be an interactive session, so raise your hands, ask questions, all of that. We want this to be a conversation with all of you. So, Austen, let's jump right into it. So, everybody is kind of going through this thing in their lives right now where we're all wondering, what am I doing with my life? Where's my career going? What's my next step? And so for you, you've built a massive, massive audience by translating your military experience into content. What lessons from service do you think are most relevant for the next generation and people who are entering a very tech-driven world?
So first of all, as humans, it's really common for us to overthink, to worry about a lot of things. If you look back 2 or 3 years ago in your life and you remember what you were doing and those decisions you were having to make, if you push that out now, you would probably look back and, oh, that's no problem. I conquered that. So whatever you're being challenged with or whatever you're might be overthinking or maybe slightly have some anxiety about or whatever, try to push that out 5 years. And I guarantee you in 5 years, that decision is going to be very minuscule. Now I'm off for the question. Could you repeat the last part of that? I go off script all the time, and I'm sorry. I like interacting with you guys, so I may do a show of hands. I may choose a few of you out of the audience.
So what lessons from service do you think are most relevant now, especially now that we're living in a very tech-driven world?
So in tech, it's very thrilling, especially with AI. You can type in a prompt and get 60 or 70% of where you want to go within minutes, and it's thrilling. But there are parts of the job that you're not going to like. That's where the importance of discipline and staying consistent is. Like when you go and start a brand new workout routine or a brand new diet, it's thrilling for the first day or so, but when you get into that valley of despair, which every single job and almost everything that you do will have a valley of despair, it's important to keep pushing through there. A lot of people will start something and they'll be really exciting, and when they realize how hard it is or when you're not going to love every single part of the job, they tend to stop. And that's where diet and fitness goals, and especially new job, and especially as entrepreneurs, it's really hard. So when you get into that valley of despair, it's important to stay consistent and stay disciplined towards that ultimate goal. Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. So you spend a lot of time showing people what real training and teamwork looks like and what it means. How do you see creators playing a role in shaping how people think about careers in content creation, technology, or even public service?
We've seen in the last 5 years, maybe even in the last 10 years, how important content is now. That's the way majority of people consume their information, their education. Storytelling, humans have been telling stories for thousands of years. We even have seen cave paintings and writing on walls. Those are humans telling stories. And tech, ever since the first light bulb, has been evolving, especially now in the last 2 years, very rapidly. These 3 things are here to stay, and it's important that creators are putting out informational type content towards these topics and to help educate the next generation of humans.
And then can we pull a little bit on that thread talking about the
course.
educational piece of content? As you were mentioning, we are just all the time just being funneled information 24/7 all the time. So what is the educational piece in the work that you're doing currently?
I think we started off with not really knowing this, but we started off with kind of humanizing military people. I was in the Navy for 7 years. I realized there was a huge gap between what civilians thought of the military and the actual people in the military. And I just started putting out small bits of information, like, first of all, how much military members get paid. It made it relatable. I think some of y'all in this audience have maybe seen that video. I put it out probably 4 or 5 years ago. It was one of the first times a service member was actually like transparent about how much military members made. And just these small videos that have traits, personality traits from military members and service members that made them more and more relatable, I think kind of closed the gap between people in the military and what people on the outside thought of people in the military. So the more you can educate as a creator, the more influence you will build. I see content all the time. Content creators, they make brainless, mindless content, and that's cool. That works for them, but that will never be me. I love taking the viewer through a journey. Like, if it's like, hey, today we're doing 10 push-ups. Why is this important? Well, if you're trying to go into the military, push-ups is an important part of your PT test. Boom. You just educated your audience on why push-ups are important and why you're doing what you're doing. So the most popular type of content in the world is infotainment. Information and entertainment. If you can entertain someone at the same time that you're teaching them, that's a win-win for everybody.
Just as another note, he's been in DC for about 3 days now, and he's already been acknowledged as the pull-up guy several times everywhere. So that's been something surreal to see in person and live up front.
I didn't expect to be recognized at all here.
At a tech conference, mind you.
Has anybody seen the pull-up videos that we do?
Anybody?
A couple of y'all.
Okay,
cool.
Okay, in the corner. All
so
right.
that's, speaking of changing in tech, and especially on social media and algorithms, about 4 years ago, you guys remember the rush for short-form content. It started with TikTok. TikTok paved the way. Like 5 or 6 years before that, Vine was on the right track, but then TikTok just swept with the short-form content, and all the other platforms were like rushing to catch up. Instagram released Reels alongside Facebook Reels, and then YouTube released Shorts shortly after. So I saw this evolution. I said, we need a short-form content series. We need one that's replicatable, we need one that's built into a system, and we need one that's not going to cost $100,000 to produce. So that's how we came up with the battle bus. People see them as me just going out on the street and saying, hey, how many pull-ups can you do? I'll give you $1 for every pull-up. It's very simple, but it's built into a system which has made it very successful. The system is required for every single business that you start. The reason why I say that is the battle bus has gone on to do, I think, 5.5 billion views since its conception. So I'm from Alabama. Sorry, I'm not the smartest guy. But it's our most popular series. So that's why people look at me like, hey, you're the pull-up guy. I'm like, well, I do other things, but yeah, I also do pull-ups.
So let's go into, we've talked about content generation and creation. This talk is about pivoting in life and in your career. So transitioning from the military to building your own business, S at the end of that, because you have many businesses, comes with real uncertainty and, of course, anxiety. What were the biggest risks you faced, and what opportunities really made that risk more worth it?
Well, as humans, as a part of functioning society, obviously we need income. It's not the smartest to just stop everything you're doing and go dead broke and lose assets in order to pursue something else. When I got out of the Navy, I will say, compared to some people, I had it easy, but I was going from being a naval security guy driving boats to making YouTube videos. And there was a a cross section where I started posting YouTube in 2018, and it had grown and gotten to the point where I could take it full time financially in 2020. So the fact that they were layered, it reduced the risk for me, but I was still going from being a part-time YouTuber, doing it for fun and not caring how much money I earned, to now this is my source of income, so it has to perform. And there was a valley of despair, which I talked about earlier, that really made me super anxious. And I was like, well, I'm out here creating this video, and this one has to perform, or else I'm not going to be able to afford my rent next month. And that was really tough. I always told myself, and I say this all the time, if you build it, they will battle, which is a cool movie, Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Well, I just relate it to the battle bunker. So I'm out here going through terminal leave, and I'm building this course, which I hoped was going to be a cool series on YouTube, because that's how I funded the whole thing, and that's how I was able to live. And I kind of use it as a piece of morale. You know, for service members, we always cling to whatever morale that we can get. And I use that slogan, if you build it, they will battle, for morale. And I was looking at that vision, and I'm trying to ignore all, you know, the videos, performances, and how well is this post performing, and did we get a sponsor this month? And like I said, when I first came on this stage, humans like to overthink, and we like to look at all the minute details. And then flash forward 5 years, those details seem just very small because I focused on the full picture. And I could keep going on forever about this because I'm very passionate about it. And you guys can catch me after and ask questions if you want. But there will be a time that you will be anxious, and there will be a time where you are overthinking your situation. But if you start with a goal and you stay confident in it and you stay disciplined and consistent, it will succeed. I know you hear this all the time and it sounds cliche, but shoot for the moon, and if you don't hit the moon, you'll land amongst the stars. Well, that's very, very true. I started Battle Bunker as an obstacle course. That was 5 years ago. Now we don't even have an obstacle course. We're heavily into e-commerce, and we've done a number in sales just from the media. So you'll have to pivot a little bit, but just stay focused on the full mission and you will succeed.
So I think a lot of us grapple with the question when we are trying to navigate that pivot, when is it the right time to leave? And so for you and what you've experienced, when is that sweet spot? Whether it be, you know, years at a company, people are climbing the ladder, oh, I've climbed the ladder and now it's my turn to leave and pivot. Or a life moment happens that just changes the course of your entire life trajectory. What is your take on this pivoting? And I'd also love for you to touch on what you did in college and how that's not what you do now.
Mm-hmm. I have a very extreme belief about this. I think life is too short to stay doing something that you don't absolutely love doing. And I hope each one of you in this room are thinking about your specific scenario now. And you're like, if there's something that you're doing right now, you don't necessarily like absolutely love it, go a different direction. Life is really short. I mean, I'm 33 now. It seems like yesterday I was 24, 25. So using this thought of like life is really short, I am the most aggressive pivoter. If I don't like something, I'll be like, all right, let's go do something else. But then the finance aspect comes into play here. You don't just want to completely leave, and especially if you're navigating a new pivot, which you don't know. So I would say give yourself a stockpile, give yourself, plan a little bit of leeway. But I will say, I perform the best under pressure. If you put your back against the wall and you put pressure on yourself, you will find a way, 100%. It's happened to me all the time. To touch on college, I was attending Northwest Shoals Community College in Tuscumbia, Alabama, a very small town. And I didn't really have a whole lot of life experience at that point. I used to install car audio systems in people's cars. And I told my mom, I said, I think that's what I want to do. I want to be an electrical guy. And so I started college for electrical technology. Well, me being terrible at math, I find myself in college working with capacitors and resistors. And any electrical people in here?
Anybody?
Okay.
Let's go, Jacob.
It's really hard. I don't know how you do it, but the algorithms and the formulas, everything, it was just overwhelming for me. So I said, all right, I'm going to dip. And I pivoted. And probably 2-3 days later, I went to the Navy recruiting office after having interactions with, military recruiters. And I said, sign me up. So I just pivoted out of college. I dropped out of college, signed up for the Navy. I left 9 months later. But like I said, I have a very aggressive stance on this. If I don't like doing something, or if I find myself in an environment which I just don't like, I will absolutely pivot. Mm-hmm. And it was like that in the Navy. I mean, it's not that I didn't love the Navy. I just found a better opportunity for me personally. So that's why I pivoted completely out of the Navy into YouTube production.
So I really want to go into this word that I've been hearing spewed out a lot, and I think it's a word that really resonates in Washington, D.C., which is grunt work. And so we talk a lot about following your passion, but passion may not necessarily pay the rent. And so I think a lot of times we're stuck on our phones, we're glued to our phones for information, we see other people's lifestyles, and we probably have this realization, in my job, I do a lot of grunt work. I don't want to do this type of work anymore. So when you're pivoting in your career and trying to navigate those next steps, that busy grunt work that you're doing can kind of kill your momentum. So what's your take on grunt work from your perspective?
Has anybody ever done some grunt work in here?
Okay.
Should be 100% of people. Grunt work is absolutely necessary. You see online, like you mentioned, people are like, hey, I sent this email and made 10 grand. They're probably either selling a course or trying to get engagement on their content. Everything that you do is going to require some grunt work. You're not going to absolutely love everything that you're doing. I've been hanging out with her all weekend, and I absolutely hate it. That's grunt work.
Wow.
Just kidding. I make a lot of jokes. She's actually great.
He's been joking all week.
Don't hurt me after this, please. She's going to. I'm a big jokester. Like I was talking about when we first started this, the discipline and consistency is super, super important. When you're going through something new and you hit that valley of despair, when you don't feel like doing something or when you realize it's going to be a lot harder, you have to absolutely put in the grunt work. And I'm sure every single one of you have put in some sort of grunt work. It doesn't have to be physical. My brain goes physical. When I hear grunt work, I'm thinking of loading sandbags and hauling a bunch of heavy stuff around. Mental grunt work is even harder than physical grunt work. I can assure you that. We started a software company 6 months ago, which just requires hours at a computer, and my brain is just going through grunt work. And I don't want to do it all the time, but being able to navigate that to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down for a session that I don't absolutely love, but it's got to be done. The more repetition you get in there, the better you can follow through with the grunt work.
So you kind of mentioned that valley of despair that you had talked about earlier. And sometimes in that valley of despair where you're not seeing the numbers or the views in terms of what you did with your life, and you're kind of at this stagnant, 180 line, if that's correct, where, there's no steady paycheck coming in anymore from the military. What mental drills did you use to stay disciplined and to just keep pushing through that kind of stagnant period where you weren't seeing the growth results yet?
If you build it, they will battle. Almost everything that I'm doing that's not showing results immediately, I just keep telling myself, hey, if you build it, it's going to happen. And with Battle Bunker, it's if you build it, they will battle. But if you're confident in what you're doing, you're passionate about it, and you're building towards a certain goal, you will get it to work. It may not be the way that you want it to necessarily, but if I was building the Empire State Building, and I started laying the foundation, and my boss asked me, hey, is the Empire State Building done yet? I would say, no. But you see that I'm building the foundation every single day. It's common to say, okay, I'm not where I want to be, but just focus on where you're at and what you're doing, and you can see every level of progression along the way. You also hear the term, it takes 5 years to become an overnight success. I mean, in the perfect scenario related to this, for me, we were creating on YouTube for 5 years. It was only YouTube. And then we got reached out to by networks, Tubi, Roku, Amazon Fire, Amazon Prime, and now our videos are on all those networks. And people were coming to me saying, hey, dude, congrats, like you made it, congrats. And I'm thinking, well, I've been doing this for 5 years. This is not overnight. So constantly build the fire and put the bricks, lay the bricks to that house, and progressively you will get to where you're going.
So pivoting over to tech, since we are at a tech
Yes.
conference, you're trying to dive deep into tech nowadays. What are some of your favorite AI tools to use to help your workflows?
There's specific ones for different scenarios. I have a very obsessive personality. When I first saw how AI was evolving, I saw how it could be business changing for us. Number one, graphics, and that includes thumbnails on YouTube. We used to pay, $150 to $200 to a manual graphic designer, which is okay, but it would take 7, 8, 9, 10 days, and now we're designing graphics for thumbnails for a quarter each with GPT 1.5, and it takes 15 seconds. And then there's Claude Code. Obviously, everybody loves Claude. So we've built 5 different platforms. 2 of them are apps. One of them is a software, and 2 of them support our Battle Bunker mission, including customer support, better fulfillment, better logistics for the whole team. If you're developing something, Claude Code, ultimate favorite. If you're doing something with graphics, like if you need a presentation made, or if you need a thumbnail made, or if you need some other sort of marketing graphic, don't use Claude Design, it's not there yet. But Manus or GPT 1.5, great. Nano Banana Pro is also okay, but compared to GPT 1.5, OpenAI has really made huge, and I know they're here this weekend, but they made huge improvements in graphics, and it's almost scary how fast they're doing it. The Claude Suite and OpenAI are the 2 main tools that we use. I know that was a long question, sorry.
No, you're good. And I've seen how you organized your calendar as well for this event using all of those tools too.
Yes, so I'll mention that. A lot of y'all are builders in here and a lot of entrepreneurs. Any use case to save yourself time, you can absolutely do it with AI or get it 95% there. I'm terrible at calendar management, first of all, because I have big thumbs, and sometimes when I'm trying to type and click those little buttons on my phone, it doesn't really work out. It takes me a while. So with Claude Computer, I just screenshot the itinerary for this entire weekend, and I have it hooked up to MCP, my Google Calendar through MCP, and I said, hey, put these events in my calendar, and I'll show you. I showed her. Claude Computer wrote my entire calendar for me during this event. It's got every single, I don't know if you can see that, but it's got every single event that I have to go to, and inside it has a description about this event, like what's happening, who's my moderator,
All the questions.
everything. If I did this, first of all, I've never had time to do this, but if I did this, this would take me an hour and a half. And when you're using these tools to be productive over the course of a day or a week, it can almost duplicate your productivity, if not triple or quadruple. So if you just sit there and think about use cases, like, okay, I scan my email for 2 hours a day. If you just set up a cron job that scans your email and reports the 5 most important to you, like, it is doable with AI. So if you're not fully looking into these pathways or different AI, I encourage you, do it, because it's going to save you a lot of time, which is the most important thing you have on this planet.
All right, we're almost out of time, so I have one last question
Yes.
for you. So besides everyone staying in their seats for our next session with Undersecretary Dario Gil from the Department of Energy, what's one other thing everyone in our audience today should do at the expo? What was your favorite part? What is like the one thing people absolutely need to go check out? And can you point them to it?
Food's really good.
Oh my God.
I would say, have you guys seen the robots in the back corner? That's the most fascinating to me. I don't have a lot of experience with robots. Like I said, I'm from Alabama. I don't think they have robots in Alabama yet. But just seeing the way the robots will look at you and notice you and the way they're able to play in that band, it's pretty cool. I wish the Tesla Optimus was live, but
That is cool.
yeah.
Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. Austen Alexander,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you
you.
for being with us at the AI Plus Expo. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Glad to be here.